Good morning, everybody. Hey, glad to be back with you this second Saturday in December. My name is Ed Samuel. I'm a career coach with a firm called Sam Nova. We're based in Kennett Square, PA, and serve clients in greater Philadelphia area and across the U.S. I hope and pray that you and your family are safe in the midst of this pandemic and that this new lockdown, especially here in PA, that we just entered, is a challenge. And I think it's going to take us through the first week of January. But let's get at it. This morning we're going to close out our Career Spotlight series. Throughout 2020, I've been talking to people from all walks that have landed in a career that finally seems to resonate with them in all ways. It's never so much the end destination, but those twists and turns to get there, and those pivotal moments where a person decides to take the bull by the horns. And it's not only the perseverance, the resilience, but a lot of the faith that's required. So this morning I'm honored to talk to Scott Klein. Scott is a well-known community activist and entrepreneur. Scott's a published author who hosts a popular Get Down to Business radio show in Chicago and serves as an officer in the U.S. Army Reserves, as well as a chairman of the Village of Skokie Economic Development Commission. Scott's also a doctoral candidate and holds a master's degree in nonprofit management. He's an active leader for the employer support of the Guard and Reserve. Scott hails from Chicago, and I was fortunate enough to be on Scott's radio program a few months back this year. So it's great to have you on 1180 to reciprocate, Scott, in Philly. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ed, for having me. And we had a fantastic conversation and looking forward to continuing it this morning.
Well, one of the things that, I was looking at, we have a few things in common. One of the things is you have one heck of a diverse background, and you're involved in more than just a few causes. So I'm really glad you're here. So let's get started. I always like to start from the beginning. Where are you originally from? And I think I saw New York somewhere in your background. So tell us a little bit about, where you grew up.
Sure. Originally from Chicago, and grew up, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I've done, but grew up in Chicago, but went to school all over the world. And indeed did settle down for a short period of time in New York, where I continued my studies, as well as did some of my professional chops out there, but originally hailed from Chicago, actually.
Wow. So, when you went to college, what did you study? What did you get your degree in initially, and what was your thinking at the time?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I actually had originally planned on becoming a rabbi because I love community work so much. So I went to rabbinical school, and I was in school in Israel, Detroit, and New York, as I just mentioned. Ultimately, I discovered that my passion and my talent, I guess, is really should not be behind the pulpit, but actually I love the community organizing side of things. So initially focused on communications, and then over time I ended up I got my master's in nonprofit management, and as you mentioned, I am finishing my doctorate over the coming weeks in educational leadership. So I really, really love the world of community, and that's you'll hear that throughout my story.
Well, when so when you broke into the business world, I understand at one of the largest Jewish websites in the world. Tell us a little bit about where you cut your teeth.
Yeah, so I grew up in a family business, and that's important to mention. I grew up in a house where my dad taught me everything I know about basics of business management, entrepreneurship. So we probably broke many child labor laws. I think I did my dad's invoicing when I was something like 10 years old. I even took on a couple of consulting clients over time. So that was I'd say an ethic, a work ethic that was taught to me at a young age. Indeed, that did continue on into New York, which was my first, I'd say, real job outside of the family business. And I worked at an organization called Chabad, and actually Chabad.org, which is the largest Jewish website in the world, and I ran their media and public relations. So it really a good way to broaden my professional experience outside of the family business.
Well, and then I understand that you kind of made this shift into accounting and tax. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it was exactly what I said I would never do. So the accounting and tax firm that you just mentioned, Ed, is our family business, the business that I grew up in and the business that I said as a kid I would never end up in because I am so passionate about community. Ultimately, I think I was 20 years old and I had already worked for a couple of years and I had done the whole New York thing. And honestly, I enjoyed my time in New York, made some amazing friends and really established myself professionally outside of the family business. But I discovered I wanted to be back in Chicago. I felt that I had already started on the whole nonprofit thing. I wanted to learn more about business and learn more about how business intersects with community, which has become a theme of my life. So I joined my dad in business. I ran the firm for about 6 years. So I'm not an accountant. You would not want me doing your taxes, Ed. But I ran the firm for about 6 years. I'm running the operations and running the business and really kicked off a lot of things that I've continued to do even today in Chicago.
Yeah, so then when you left the firm, you founded a Jewish business-to-business networking group that you've led for a long time. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So it actually started at the same time as the accounting firm. It really was an offshoot of the networking that I was doing for our business. I discovered as I was networking, growing the accounting and tax firm that you just mentioned, I discovered that I was meeting people right and left. And mind you, this was in a period of time very similar to the one that we're in right now, albeit we were able to network in person. But a deep recession, and I was networking for our business, and I discovered that so many of the people that I'd been in contact with, small business owners, were underemployed. And I discovered that I can help them. I can connect the realtor to the accountant and the accountant to the lawyer and connect the dots and hit on something big, hit on something good. And we built some connections, helped a lot of small businesses in the area grow over the course of about 6 years. We drew many tens of thousands of people. You heard that right, tens of thousands of people across events, programs, and resources throughout the Midwest, and attracted a lot of attention. It was the right issue at the right time, and that led to a lot of the community involvement and government involvement that I've had. It was really because of trying to help people find jobs and help businesses grow, and it's completely non-denominational. But it really was an offshoot of just networking for the accounting and tax firm, which is, like I said, where community and business intersect. And hopefully, anybody that's tuning in can take this message to heart. And if you're in business and for-profit, it doesn't mean that your whole life needs to be for-profit. You can make a difference.
Well, so even though it was a Jewish business-to-business networking group, it kind of evolved into a non-denominational networking forum.
It did. And really the reason I loved having the word Jewish in the title was I was taught as a child the highest form of charity is helping somebody earn their own livelihood. So I sort of took those Jewish values that I grew up in and with and brought it into the organization, but completely non-denominational, and everybody was welcome. And sure enough, everybody came. It grew way beyond my wildest dreams.
Wow. Now, is that organization, is it still exist? Are you still a part of it? Or, you tell us, how would somebody get in contact if it does?
So as the economy improved, I really scaled it back from being a typical networking organization with LinkedIn workshops and speed networking events and all sorts of things like that. I mean, our largest events were drawing 5,000 people in its heyday. And as I saw the economy slightly improve and people start to find employment, I transitioned the organization more into an advocacy organization. And we've led groups out to Washington, D.C. and the state capitol and really partnered with other organizations. So I'll definitely share all of the contact information, but really the organization that was really I've scaled it back dramatically. And part of that also had to do with my involvement in the Army and where that has taken me.
Yeah. So now in the midst of this, in addition, you became an executive director for the Jewish Neighborhood Development Organization. So multiple levels of intensity of work beginning in your life, even more so. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Ed. So because of the networking, again, that I was doing originally in business and then slowly building nonprofits and community organizations, I discovered many thoroughfares, especially in the Chicagoland area, that were blighted and challenged economically. So the mayor in my city, in Skokie, Illinois, appointed me to chair the Economic Development Commission. I was the founding chair of that commission, a position I still hold. And then a number of community leaders approached me and they said in the neighborhood in Chicago, for those that might be familiar, West Rogers Park, a also similarly blighted area, they said, hey, can we develop a strategy? How can we attract businesses? How can we develop and grow our neighborhood and make sure that we are attracting the investment and the attention of elected officials? So I came on board as the executive director of the organization, mind you, while also doing all of these other things that we've talked about. And I ran the organization for it was about 5 years or so. I resigned and handed it off to a very talented and very accomplished executive director, to Ellen Dopplet, who is still running the organization. But I resigned as I left for the Army. But very, very proud of all that we've accomplished. We have libraries in this neighborhood. We have businesses that have opened as a result of our community organizing efforts.
Well, that's amazing. The what an impact that you've had now. Now, before we get into you have so many things going on. I'm never sure which one comes first, but and then in the midst of all this, you became a radio host in AM 560 in Chicago. How did that come about, and why did you jump into that?
Well, you can relate, Ed. It's a fantastic platform to share advice and resources, much like your show. And it's funny, AM 560 approached me actually originally to lead a workshop for their sales team. And I came in and I led the workshop, something I was very familiar with, about basically networking and building relationships, professional relationships. Great session. And then afterwards they approached me and they said, hey, we would love to have a weekend program which focuses on business, jobs, entrepreneurship. And we'd love you to host it. And you'll be, talent of the station. And it was a weird jump to go from being on the other side of the microphone, being interviewed about networking, being interviewed about jobs, to actually hosting the show. But that was 7 years ago, and I'm still on the air. So clearly I accepted, and it's been a wild ride. Ed, I pack the show every week with usually 4 to 5 guests, the 1 hour program. So very short conversations with lots of entrepreneurs and amazing people from around the country. And the show continues to grow, especially in this era of podcasts.
Beautiful. So now let's kind of go into this. The U.S. Army, commissioned officer. Tell us a little bit about, in the midst of all this, you decided to go after that.
Well, service has always been very important to me, Ed, and I've always valued serving my community, serving my neighborhood. And at 29, so I actually just celebrated my 2-year Army anniversary. I had a couple of conversations with some of the folks that I know in the world of military, and I'd heard comments like, "Hey, we could use a guy like you." And for me, my philosophy in life is never let a door fully close. When they said we could use a guy like you, I said, why not me? And I was in a unique place, having already established myself, with a number of business things and community things and organizations. I went down the path of exploring Army service because I value service to community and service certainly to country. And when given the opportunity to commission, to be clear, as an Army reservist, so I continue to do my other things, I actually had thought that every reason under the sun why it wouldn't happen. But ultimately, those barriers fell away. I commissioned at age 29. I'm a military police officer, actually, literally in the coming days, getting ready for my first deployment. And it's the honor of a lifetime. I serve with the finest young men and women across the country that are truly all committed to service, and it's a privilege to lead soldiers in the Army every day. Even as a reservist, there's an incredible amount of time that's put in, and you have an incredible opportunity to make an impact. And everybody that takes the oath, they're to be commended. And it's taught me a lot. I went into the Army thinking that I'm pretty well established, as I mentioned. I learn so much every day from my service, and because the service teaches me, and hopefully I bring some of my other experiences into the Army as well, and I'm able to teach others.
Well, again, amazing, another twist to your life, but and then you founded your own business in the midst of all this, called Get Down to Business, and I guess it's a coaching practice based on when we've talked before, but what led to that decision, and just tell us maybe a little bit about what you do for people.
I appreciate it. So as I got so involved in all the things that we've talked about, and I know we've covered a lot of ground in our time together, talking about the radio show and business and all of these things, I discovered that I couldn't be in the office. In order for me to feel fulfilled, in order for me to make an impact, I needed to get out of the office and have the flexibility and the freedom to be involved in all of these things. So I had been helping a lot of businesses and giving advice. And over time, I'd frankly been offered a lot of jobs in different roles. And I wasn't really looking for a typical job at the time. But I discovered that I can consult, and I always call what I do external affairs. And external affairs in my mind is everything that's not business operations related. So what that means is I'm involved in helping businesses and organizations with media relations, with government relations, with hiring, with technology. Again, everything that's not bricks and mortar or finance for the business, despite my tax and accounting background, I'm involved in. So I have filled that role for many dozens of organizations, some healthcare organizations, nonprofits, including some fairly large entities, essentially as their outsourced director of marketing, or outsourced a number of different things. And I did that for a while, growing a practice. Again, I took a bit of a hiatus to leave for my service. I was gone for a year, and I'm about to be gone again. And that practice is still active. And I still spend a massive amount of my time volunteering and involved in community, and mostly teaching others how to have their businesses or organizations really connect with stakeholders. And I'm really proud of all of the folks that I've been able to interact with, and organizations that I've been able to help.
Scott, this is just an amazing journey. If somebody wanted to learn more about, Get Down to Business, and they want to reach out to you, and or even order your book, you published a book called Getting Down to Business. How would one reach you? How would one get your book? And I know you're going to be deployed for a little while, but how can somebody get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, the book is definitely available, all the major places where books can be found, certainly Amazon, as well as, Barnes & Noble and things like that. So that's great. But my website, certainly I'm always available all over on every social media platform. You and I are both big LinkedIners, if that's the right term. But my website, shalomklein.com, SHALOMKLEIN.com. That's where folks can find information about the radio show, about the book, about some of the consulting that I've done. And really, I'm an open book. I'm very available and always willing to engage with anybody. So SHALOMKLEIN.com. Beautiful.
This is amazing. I know I could talk to you for another hour easily. And you have so much to offer. You have such a neat twist of how you kind of just continue to shift your background and grow and shift and grow, and then stop some things and then continue to grow. And it just I just love your story, Scott, and how you're helping individuals and small businesses and companies and really the community at large. So wow, what a journey. I think I can't thank you enough for joining us this morning in our Career Spotlight series, Scott. And I certainly hope to have you back again, because I'm sure in a year from now there's going to be a couple more twists and turns.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Ed, and thank you for all the advice that you share. And I look forward to having you back on my show as well.
All right. Thanks so much, Scott. So, hey, we're just about out of time. For those new to the program, I did publish my first book at the end of 2019 called Optimize Your Resume, Do's and Don'ts the Sam Nova Way. It's now available on our secure website, and we'll pick up the shipping costs. Just go to www.samnovainc.com, SAMNOVAINC.com, and go to the drop down that says resume book. You could also order via Amazon and Kindle. We have no less than 400 positive comments on the book, and the most common comment that we get is practical, easy to use, and it actually has helped me land a job. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. Just Google Ed Samuel Career Coach LinkedIn. I'll be right at the top of the Google search. 24,000 direct connections. Also go to my events on my webpage to see where I'll be speaking next. This is Ed Samuel Career Coach with Sam Nova. If you'd like to reach out to me with a question or email, you can email esamuel@samnovainc.com or call our main number at 610-274-8214. Make it a great Saturday, and wishing you and all the love and hope of this Christmas season. Stay safe and God bless.